Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dan on Sports. Is baseball dying? The President of the United States thinks so. We'll get to that in just a moment, but in case you missed it, President Donald Trump put on his Truth Social platform late Friday night that he is going to pardon Pete Rose. And he goes on in an explanation, and there's the post. He goes on to say, baseball, which is dying all over the place, should get off its fat, lazy bleep and elect Pete Rose, even though far too late, into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, Pete Rose was never convicted of any crime. He was banned from baseball, but was never convicted of any crime. Not that it won't stop a president from issuing a pardon for someone who hasn't been convicted of a crime. President Biden, near the end of his presidency, issued several pardons to people who were never convicted of any crime. Liz Cheney, for example, comes to mind. But it was Major League Baseball that banned Rose from the game because he bet on baseball. And it remains to be seen if a president can issue a pardon that was imposed by a league and that pardon overrules a league banishment. Beyond that, the Hall of Fame and Major League Baseball are separate. They are not one and the same entities. Now, they certainly have a symbiotic relationship, but Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame are separate, and Major League Baseball has nothing to do with a player being voted into the Hall of Fame. Now, obviously, those who vote are going to consider the fact that a player was banished from the game, but Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame are separate, so that needs to be considered when you're debating that particular issue. But is baseball dying? That's the question. It's a good question, too, because I don't believe baseball's dying, but I believe baseball has become an acquired taste. All you have to do is look at recent developments. ESPN walking away from a deal with baseball, opting out after this season. Why? ESPN is not getting a return on its investment. ESPN was paying Major League Baseball $550 million a year. $550 million a year, and was only selling $59 million in advertising. They were doing better selling ads for their NHL telecasts, and the NHL is supposed to be fourth among the sports. Baseball used to be the national pastime. It hasn't been for decades now. Football, not just the NFL, but college football, have become really the national pastime for most sports fans. And I know it drives baseball crazy. Not to say people don't go to baseball games. Minor League Baseball has done a tremendous job of marketing its game. Why? Because when you go to the ballpark, it's more than just the game. It's the entertainment in between innings. It's the variety of food that's sold. It's so much more. And you go to a minor league game, and yeah, you root for the home team, but if they lose, you don't lose any sleep over it. Major League Baseball, its attendance is up, but Major League Baseball's television ratings are horrendous. Just one baseball game out of the top 100 rated shows made it this season, and it was the World Series, the fifth game between the Yankees and the Dodgers. They got something like 18 million viewers. In the old days, a World Series game would get 40 million viewers. A World Series game. Baseball has become an acquired taste, and if baseball wants to once again become maybe not the national pastime, but a national pastime, it has to become more than an acquired taste. So is baseball dying? No, it's not dying, but it needs to do more to rejuvenate interest. And the commissioner made the right steps by trying to shorten the game, by enforcing a pitch clock rule, by making sure batters are allowed just one time per at-bat to step out of the batter's box. I think it should be reduced to one or two times per game rather than per at-bat. But baseball needs to have a serious discussion about shortening the games, in my opinion, from 9 innings to 7 innings. Listen, the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, wants to cut the time of NBA games per quarter from 12 minutes per period to 10 minutes per period. Why? Well, he says it would shorten the telecast of a game to within a 2-hour window. He says that really is the attention span for fans, particularly the younger generation. 2 hours when you're talking about a live sporting event. Look, the only sporting event that manages to capture interest among fans that goes beyond 2 hours really is the NFL. Even hockey is starting to go too long, their games. And then you've got the NBA games that are sometimes lasting 2 hours and 45 minutes. If baseball shortened the games from 9 innings to 7 innings, I think it would do a lot to reacquaint a lot of the younger generation with the sport, knowing that you can go to a ball game or you could watch a game and you could be in and out in 2 hours. And you do it by shortening the game to 7 innings. You'd also be able to expand because you wouldn't need as many pitchers on rosters if it was a 7-inning game. You could go with less, and you could increase the importance of the starting pitcher again if you had 7-inning games. I don't want to hear, well, baseball hasn't been that way. It's going to destroy the record book. Forget the record book. The idea is to put fannies in the seats. The idea is to increase your television ratings, which have not been good. And you do it by cutting the games from 9 innings to 7 innings. And it would also change how a manager manages in a 7-inning game. You saw it when baseball did play 7-inning games during the pandemic. Doubleheaders, each game was 7 innings. It totally changes how a manager manages a game. Makes it more exciting, I believe, in so many ways. The difference between a 9-inning game and a 7-inning game from a psychological standpoint, from a viewership standpoint, is more than 2 innings. The game moves and the strategy is more exciting. So, is baseball dying? It's not dying, but baseball needs to confront why its television ratings are low, why the All Sports Network walked away from a contract, and what can be done to increase interest, particularly among the younger generation. Shorten the games from 9 innings to 7 innings. That's my suggestion. That's going to do it for Dan on Sports. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Would love to hear your comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, to the podcast, and to my newsletter